So we're going to now talk about troubleshooting the smartboard, and we're just talking about some basic troubleshooting. So if you take your laptop home every night, this is something that you need to make sure you keep in mind. Every computer, no matter what the setup is, needs two connectors, one for the VGA connector and one for the USB connection. Okay? You make sure that those two things are always plugged in prior to using it with the students in the classroom. Okay, with the USB, it's very important to always remember which port it was originally connected to. Because with Promethean, the one port you turn it into is the only port it can go into. So at your own convenience, please make sure you mark which port you've actually plugged your USB cable into, okay? So now what happens if something is wrong? So you plugged it in and all of a sudden your pin does not work with your board. So the first thing I want you to look at is in the lower right-hand corner, I want you to look at your Promethean icon. And I want you to see if it has a red X over it. If it does, it's probably because the USB cable is not plugged in. So once you plug it into the correct port, it'll take a few minutes, but when you plug it in, and then it'll start recognizing that you have a USB connection. You'll hear the board make a noise. And it'll take a few minutes sometimes for it to recognize it. But what you do is you need to wait for that message that it finally has found your active manager. And at this point, you can connect with the board. Now, if you don't see that icon, also keep in mind that the flame will turn red or orange if it sees a problem with the software. So if it cannot see your computer, the flame will also change red or orange. So that's some basic troubleshooting tips. Make sure that if you are trying to interact with the board and you're not able to, troubleshoot it by moving the USB port to another port. Try all your ports on your computer before you call us at help desk or call a friend to come help you. And double check to make sure your VGA cord is connected. Okay, so if you checked your connections and everything seems to be correctly connected, and you still have a problem interacting with the board, and you've already asked a friend to take a look, please feel free to call us and see if we can get a tech to come out and help you assist with the board. Thank you. Today we're talking about toolbars and profiles. So even though the board is called a Promethean board, the software is called Active Inspire. So what I want you to do is find Active Inspire on your desktop. It looks like an active vote with a pen and a piece of paper. In all case scenario, you can always just search for Active Inspire to see what you get. So go ahead and double click that software to open it up. And usually the first thing that you see is the dashboard asking you if you want to do a new flip chart or open another one. So I went ahead and closed that out again so we have a clean slate. So today we're going to go ahead and focus on the toolbar. So I'm going to pull this up a little bit more so you guys can see it. We'll walk you through what all the tools mean, and then we're going to show you how to adjust it for your personal teaching style. So the very first one is your file menu. So if you click on that, actually it will give you everything that you would normally get up here at the top of your Active Inspire software. So that's one shortcut to go to if you like to keep it there. So you can click on File, you can see the Open, the New, the Recent, Save As. Edit, same thing. View. You can see all the great things that you can view on that, and as well as insert. So I'm going to go ahead and click out of that. The very next thing is a driver's license. It looks like a driver's license. That is called your profile. What we're going to do, I'll come back to this, but that's one way to switch in between what you're teaching at the board and what you see at the board. So I'm going to make sure I click at the board profile so that you guys can see what you normally would see when you launch your software. Okay, so we'll come back to that. But the very next picture, it looks like a squiggly line on your blue screen. That is called Annotate over the desktop. Don't play with that right now until you feel comfortable, but that's the way to go in and out of the software, navigate to websites, and still have Active Inspire tools ready at your hands. The next one are Settings and Tools. See how I clicked out of it and now I can actually use it. It's another way to annotate over the desktop. And I'm going to click on the Active Inspire flip chart here to relaunch the software. So those two buttons I wouldn't play with until you feel comfortable with the software in the beginning. Of course, the left arrow and the right arrow will navigate you through. A flip chart is basically like a notebook, like a PowerPoint slideshow. If you progress to the right, click on next page, it'll create another page in your flip chart. And then you have, under that is, looks like a play button. That's your express pull. When you have active expressions and active votes, that is when you will use that button. For now, we're not going to play with that, but later on I'll show you how to use the express pull to make your classroom paperless. Again, express pull there as well. Okay, so under that, we have some pin choice colors. And then under that, you have your pin size. So you can actually pick your pin width for that. Or if you like the gradual slide, that's right under that too. So you can make your pin marks the largest, the smallest, medium. You figure out how large you want your pin to be. I'll demonstrate. Here's one width. And then you can actually pick here to make it larger. That way you can do a lot of coverage on the screen at the same time. Or you could just pick from those dots right there. That's the easier way to go. Okay. Under that, okay, so you have your select tool automatically. And that's what you generally will play with until you're ready to engage in the Active Inspire. Then you'll click on the pen to actually write on the Active Inspire software. Right now I'm on a computer, so it's a little harder for me to do. But when you're on the board, this is when you would actually use your pen to navigate between. Right here, the hammer and wrench, those are your tools. We have lots and lots of great tools in here. Again, they do a lot of repetition, so if you end up taking off Desktop Annotate, you can always get to any of these tools through the toolbar menu. So you have Desktop Annotate, Desktop Tools, Pen Highlighter, and then as you go down, you'll see more and more tools that you can use. We'll go over those in another time. Okay, and then my favorite is the highlight tool. So when I pull up a reading passage, you can click on that to highlight text as you're going. And you can pick your own favorite highlighting color, or you can differentiate between, that way the kids can see there's a difference. If you want to highlight the main idea in yellow and details in green, it's a little easier for the kids to see visually. Okay, we have our eraser. So if you make a small mistake, that's what you would want to use to erase your board. But if you want to just completely erase your board, go to the spray bottle. And you're going to click on Clear Annotations, because right now all I've done is annotate, which is writing, and now I get a clean screen. Okay, so the erasers for small mistakes, the spray bottle is to erase the whole flip chart if you want to start over. And then we have our fill bucket, or paint bucket, as most teachers like to do. I like to actually change the board from white to like green, make it a little bit more colorful for the kids to look at. You know, spark a little bit of interest, but we'll go ahead and turn it back to white. So you guys can use the fill toolbar to fill shapes as you go along, or change the backdrop color. You can actually use the fill text to color your text a different color. So as you're writing, you can do that as well. Under that is our shape menu. So once you click on that, it actually opens up shapes. So at the very top, you'll see some colors. It's automatically going to pick this orange, construction orange color, but what you can do is pick any other color you want to color your shape. So for example, if I want to draw a triangle, I'm going to click on the shape first, then I'm going to go up here and pick the color I want that shape to be. So I want it to be blue. Now when I go to draw, you click and drag, and now the inside of your shape is blue. But even if I don't like that color at all, now once I draw it, I can actually change it by the fill bucket. So you can click on fill and pick another color like red. And now you can change your shape color like that. So let's look at the other things on the shape bar. Besides the normal shapes that you see and all the unusual shapes, you have also other shapes, line segments. So if you want to draw those as well, you just click and drag. And those are some pretty lines to play with if you want to show the kids how to connect, draw connectors, things like that. Normal stuff that you wouldn't draw with your pen. So these are guaranteed ways to get straight lines in your classroom. Okay, so that's the shape tool. Remember, with the shape tool, you have to click once you select it and drag it out. Okay, it's not a double click world anymore in Promethean. So once you pick the shape, you're going to click on it where you want it in the Promethean flip chart and drag it out to the size you want. Now, if you don't want it there and you want to move it, make sure you pick the select tool, because now you can actually select it and move it to another location on the flip chart. So if you change your mind, you can move it anywhere else. Okay? The shape tool is a little bit difficult to start with, so make sure that you get plenty of practice on that before you introduce it to the students. The next one up is a connector. Again, you have the same 3 or 4 choices, but now you have a little bit more choices. So if you want to connect one word to another. You have some connector lines you can draw. Again, same rule here. You click and drag to draw it, and then you use the select tool to change location. So now you can drag it wherever you'd like. Of course, if you're like me and you get this fun box, the marquee, you're going to actually grab that X sign to actually move it around the board. I'm going to go ahead and clear my board. Now this time, since I didn't actually do annotations, you're actually going to do something called clear objects on the board to actually get those objects. So at this point so far, from the select all the way to the fill bucket, those are called annotations. So anytime you draw from anywhere from the select to the fill, you're going to click on clear annotations. After that, when you get to shapes and connectors, you're going to clear the objects on the board because they're no longer annotations, they become objects. Okay, now we've gone over connectors. Now we're going to go here. That is your page browser. It automatically opens up when you first launch the ActiveInspire software. At the point where you guys saw, I had actually closed it out. So this is what you would see like in a PowerPoint presentation. It actually lines up all of your pages right here, so it's easy and accessible. So if you click on the right arrow here to go to the next page and go back to your page browser, now you see I have 2 pages in my flip chart. Okay. After that, that's the very first choice you see is the page browser. Now, if you click here on the next one, it looks like a music note. Those are your resources. The nice thing about Promethean, it comes with a lot of pre-made resources for you guys to go and explore, activities, lesson building tools, sounds. We'll go over that at another time, but feel free to experiment around and look around and see what you can find. The next one, if you click on that, is what we call layering. It's an object browser. Layering is pretty much when you start writing on the board, everything goes to the middle layer. When we start doing more advanced tools like Magic Ink, we will start paying attention to layering then. At this moment, we'll just move on to something else. If you want to take notes, so if you leave this flip chart for a substitute or you're planning on submitting this as part of your lesson plan, you can actually type in notes here so you can remind yourself later. This is a practice page. And once you type in notes here, you'll notice as soon as I click out that over here, a little sticky note appears so that you know you can just click on that to see the actual notes that you've taken. So at any point you're doing a great lesson and you want to remember how you did it, you take notes on the notes browser and you can always access that by either clicking on the sticky note that appears in the upper right hand corner of your flip chart, or go to your notes page right here and click on that as well. Okay. The next item is a property browser. I don't want you playing with that yet. For more advanced users, you'll pay attention to how everything is framed. So we're going to go ahead and skip over that. Then we have action browsers. And again, I don't want you to play with this yet, especially if you're a beginning user, but this is a fun little site to start playing around with. If you feel more confident, you can actually pick what kind of actions you want your chart to perform. And again, we'll go over that in another time. And like I said last time, this little active expressions picture here will actually launch the active expression device. And again, we'll talk about that in another training. But the active expressions is another way to make voting paper, make your classroom paperless, so it gives kids a chance to vote. It's very similar to classroom performance systems and other things like that. So we'll talk about that another time. I'm going to go ahead and close this window out. Okay, so just click here to close it. And if you still want it open, remember to go here on the toolbar, click those 3 or 4 pages that you see, and it'll automatically open it again. So no matter what, you always have a shortcut to get back to what you need to get back to. Now, if you always like that open, there's a little thumbtack there you can actually click on. It's called pinning. So at this point, if I click on that, it's actually going to stay there for the rest of the duration of having the flip chart open. If it annoys you, just unpin it, and then it'll do hide. So anytime that you don't want it there. I prefer hiding it because I don't always like to see what's on the pages, or if I want to present a lesson to the students and I don't want them to preview the content, I always hide the browser like that. Okay, so back to the toolbar. Right here again, I mentioned it earlier when we were browsing the page browser, but that again is your resource. So if you click there, it actually will shortcut you to the resource manager, so you can go through here and see what kind of resources you have available to you. Right now, there's lots of pre-made activities, and right here where it says learner response activities, those are the ones that you would use with your active expressions or active votes. And they have lots of great templates for you to use as well. Backgrounds, lesson building tools. And later on, when we talk about Promethean Planet, they have lots of free resources. When you download those, you'll actually have resources appear here and under this arrow. Okay, and then of course they have some sounds, so if you want to get crazy with your kids and make some fun sounds, if they get the correct answer, the sound can play. Okay, so we went over those, and now again the spray bottle. That's just an easier way to clear your flip chart. So again, the first one is clearing any writing. So the pen, the highlighter, the fill tool will all erase with the clear annotations. Clear objects will erase your shapes and your connectors. And then if you play around with the backgrounds and you don't like it, you want to clear the background, you can clear background there. Okay? This reset button will come into play later when we talk about how to build your attendance sheet and how to do some more fun activities. You will want to keep that there for now. The way you do a reset is once you build your flip chart, you save it the way you want to present it to students to make it an interactive center, and then train the students to click reset to reset the page. So when they go into the center, they play, they do the activity, they click reset, and it'll reset the page the way that you want it to be presented to the next group. Okay? And then my two favorite buttons, undo and redo. Any great software has these two buttons, so always remember if you make a mistake, you can always click on undo or redo at any time. And now over here you have your little trash can. Generally I always close that out because if I want to delete something, I just click on it and hit delete, or click on the spray bottle and clear the annotations or the objects. But if anything, you accidentally do something, you can actually just drag one shape into the trash can and it will throw it away for you. So I'm going to go ahead and draw another triangle. I don't like that triangle. I'm going to go ahead and select it. Now take the X and you're going to drag it right into the trash can. When you see the red arrow, then release, and that means they just threw that one object away. Because sometimes when you're in a complicated flip chart and you only want to throw away one thing, you don't want to clear those annotations or those objects, otherwise the whole flip chart gets wiped out. You'll want to throw one by one away in the trash can. Welcome to the tutorial on profiles. So today we're going to talk about how to adjust your profiles to what you're teaching at the board, and then how to customize your toolbars for what you actually need or what tools you prefer to use at the board. So I want you to go ahead and launch your Active Inspire and go ahead and pull up your toolbar menu. So in the previous tutorial we talked about this driver's license, and I kept mentioning we're going to come back to it. So now today is our day to come back to it. So we're going to click on what looks like a driver's license, and now you see some options. The first option at the board is usually what's already chosen for you, and those are the tools that we already covered in the previous video. If you want to teach math, we're going to actually go scroll down to math. And now what's going to happen is your toolbar actually adjusts and adds math tools onto it. So you still see the same tools that you saw earlier. Everything from this line, from the fill bucket up is the same, as well as the shape tool and the connectors, the page browser, and the resource browser. But now you see we have a ruler. So if you click on that, you actually will see your ruler has been chosen for you. And you can actually click and drag it to where you need to go. If you need to rotate it, see that little picture? It's kind of hard to see, but it looks like a menu button. You can actually flip it over. So if you're teaching metric system, you can do that. But if you want to teach inches, you can actually flip it over or change what you're measuring. So that way the kids can see that. And that way you can talk about the differences between everything. Okay, now when you hover, you're seeing that X again. That means that you can move it from wherever you like it to go. But then if you hover it a little bit more, you'll see the rotation button. You're going to click and drag it to how you want to rotate it. So if you want to rotate and measure a vertical line, you can do that. Or if you just want to flip the ruler over, you can do that. So again, when you have that curved line like that, that's rotation. And it will always rotate around the 0. Now you wait for the X to move it back over, so now you can measure. Now the ruler never goes away, so if you want to take away the ruler after you've taught your lesson, you can actually have to select it and throw it back into the trash can. Like we mentioned before, wait until you see that red arrow and then release it and it gets thrown away. The same for any of these tools. Anytime you want to get rid of it, you actually have to throw them away. Doesn't mean that it's gone forever. You can click on it again. There it is again. So if you leave it up, you're going to actually see it on every page of your flip chart. So as soon as you're done using the tool, throw it away to move on. Okay, then you see your protractor. So you can click on that as well, so you can measure your angles. Okay, again, when you see the X, you can move it to where you need to go. And when you have that curved line, you can actually rotate the protractor around. And the nice thing about the protractors is it shows you the angle, so you can be assured that it's always lined up where you need it to be lined up. And the same thing shows up here in the middle of the tool. You're going to actually see a menu button, so you can actually show them the full protractor, the half protractor, arcs, closed arcs. So you can show them what you need them. And if you ever want the kids to actually draw an angle, you can actually take that off and have them practice drawing a 90-degree angle, and then actually have them take out the protractor and measure it if it's true or not. Okay, so right now you can actually close it here, or again, throw it away. So I'm going to close it this time just to show you guys the difference. So there you go. You close the tool and put it away. Now we have this tool. I'm going to click and drag it out. And that is the architect's triangle. So you have lots of tools on that. So this is definitely doable for the older kids. I kept rotating around to show you guys the difference. But again, if you want to move it, wait until you get that X symbol over it. I'm going to go ahead and see if I get it. There it goes. And again, you get the same thing. Click on the middle of the tool and you can actually get options. The only option you get this one is close. So I'm going to go ahead and close that one. You also have now your protractor, so you can have the kids practice going to the board and drawing circles. So the way you do this is you put it where you want it to go. Put it where you want to go, and when you're ready to draw, grab the pencil. And now you can go around in a circle and you get your perfect circle. So if you're anything like me and you can't draw a perfect circle, that's one way to do it other than picking the shape tool. Again, same thing here. You guys are going to find that little picture of a menu. Just click on that to actually close it. If you want to increase or decrease the length, go ahead and do that. And again, grab the pencil to actually draw your circle. Okay? I'm going to finish closing that out. And now again, close out your tool there. So you have a lot of variety to do with that tool, so you can have some fun with that. Now, earlier we talked about the spray bottle to erase objects or annotations. Since this is an annotation, you actually click clear annotations to get rid of the circles that you just have drawn. Okay, and then you have your calculator, which is a nice handy thing to teach the kids how to use. So whatever you do, you can pull up your calculator to show them a tool, especially when you're in the higher level math classes. Okay, here's your dice. When I taught probability, this is what I tended to use a lot to show them the difference between random probability and how often certain numbers should come up. So we're going to pick 3 dice today. We're going to roll it. And there we go. So whatever my choices are, I can click on Output to Flip Chart. And I'm going to actually move this tool out of the way so you guys can actually see what has happened. Because anytime you click on Output to Flip Chart, it actually puts your number in the flip chart. And you can put it in an XY T-chart or wherever you guys are going to manipulate it. So you can have the kids do this as an interactive center. How many times will this number come up if you have this many dice? And then you guys could talk about probability. But always remember, the number is always going to go in the middle of the flip chart, same with the dice roller. So make sure you pull the dice roller tool away from where the number is going to appear. That way the kids can see it. Otherwise, it'll look like you're not doing anything, and right behind the tool, you're going to see all the numbers there. So then you can move that out of the way as well. Okay, so have some fun with that dice. I used to have lots of fun with that, teaching probability. Okay, and since those are now objects, you're going to clear the objects because any number or text that comes in is an object. So you clear the object there. And then right here is the XY origin tool. So if you want to play around with that when you're doing graphing, you just click on that and you can play around. Same thing, if you want to get rid of it, throw it away in the trash can. Okay? And then you'll notice the same 4 tools back here, the spray bottle, the reset, the undo, and the redo. Okay? So that is your math at the board profile. So earlier we talked about at the board, we talked about math, but what if you're teaching language arts? It's now going to give you a customized language arts toolbar. So it'll bring in things that you would use more typically for language arts. The T is now text. So if you click on the T, you notice that this whole toolbar now opened up. It's automatically defaulted to Arial 14, but I know I can't read Arial 14 at the board, so I'm going to make sure that I always set that up so the kids can see it. I changed it to 22. You can bold, underline it, italicize it, and then if you are talking about exponents above the number or below the number, you can click there as well. But we're just going to type hello. Oops. There we go. So you guys have your choices, and of course you'll want to choose your best font from that as well. So now that you've used text, you can clear it by clicking on objects, or you could throw it away again. And again, you can't throw it away until you see the red arrow. Mine's not coming up, so I'm just going to have to click clear objects. Okay, now you have other things. This is my other favorite tool right underneath text is a handwriting recognition tool. I do not have very good handwriting, so I usually use this more often, and I know some of our students don't have the best handwriting. So if you click that, you'll notice the handwriting recognition tool is a pen. So you would still use it to type or to draw out what you want it to say. I'm not quick enough for this, this board. I'm trying to write the word hello to show you guys. It recognizes cursive as well as script. So there we go. And give it a second. It recognized the word hello. Now, if it doesn't recognize your handwriting still, you can actually go down here and pick the word that you actually really did mean for it to say. I did want it to say hello, so I'm going to choose from that. As soon as I click out away from that, that help box goes away. So it actually helps you with your handwriting. And I used it a lot when I was at the board teaching the students a lesson. Okay, so this next tool is the on-screen keyboard. I don't recommend using this at all. It does give you the ability to type in an address when you're at the board, but I always found it to be much easier to go straight to, if you need to type something in, to go straight back to your laptop or your computer that's connected to the Promethean and actually type it in yourself. It's a lot harder for the kids to manipulate as well. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and move on. Right underneath that is one of my favorite tools. It's called a ticker tape. So if you click on that, it actually will give you some time to type in a message. Now, this is a great tool, especially if you need to show the objective of your lesson or the standard of your lesson or anything you want the students to remember at the end of your lesson or whenever. And sometimes, just for fun, I'd put in students' names. If I knew they were talking in the back of the room, I'd say, you know, Jose, stop talking in the back of the room, and click it on, and they'll come across. And it's just a fun little thing to do sometimes to engage the students. So as you notice, I actually started to scroll something over that. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the students will learn how to manipulate the Promethean board. Okay, so as you saw me starting to type it in, it actually started showing up across the top. You can adjust to where you want it to go. It's automatically defaulted to top. You can say I want it in the middle of my screen, because anytime you put anything in the middle, the students' attention goes straight to the middle. They rarely will see anything at the top or the bottom. So keep that in mind. And then you can actually change the color of the font and the color of the backdrop. So if you want it to be any other color, you can definitely do that if you want to draw their attention in. Okay, so all you have to do is just click on it like you saw me do, and you can pick from the color wheel and hit OK, and then it'll apply that color change to that. That, by the way, was the shadow. Since it has no shadow, you don't see it. But I'll go ahead and give it a shadow, and now you see the green shadow that it has. Right here is the text color. So you can change that. I always recommend keeping it black text, but if you want to get creative and try blue, you can go ahead and do that. But remember, always try to do black text no matter what color of your backdrop. You want to keep it easier for the kids to read. Okay, and this last box right here shows you the backdrop color, and I'd always recommend keeping it clear. That way you can see behind it. That way it's transparent. Otherwise, what it'll do is it'll block out the entire sentence and that entire part of the Promethean board active Inspire flip chart the students won't be able to see through. So go ahead and hit, by the way, I forgot to mention, here's your ticker tape parade speed, so you can always speed it up. If you want the kids to really notice something or play a game with them, you can always speed it up like this. Of course, that's always fun. So the more you speed it up, it'll give you some options there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close that up because I like that speed. Click on save if you want to save it. So if you're one of the teachers who wants to put your objective or your standards in there, you can save as many as you need to. Just click on save. I'm not going to save that, so I'm just going to hit OK. So that again, it shows you right here next to handwriting recognition is a ticker tape. So right here underneath that handwriting recognition is your shortcut to Promethean Planet. So if you click on that, it's actually going to open up your Promethean Planet software. What it opens up for you is Promethean World. So it will give you guys some free resources here, so you can click on that and go through that. I would never do this in front of the kids. One of the few things I would do is eliminate the Promethean World icon from this toolbar, because as far as I know and understand, I've never opened that in front of the kids to show them anything. But that's one thing you can do if you want to go anywhere. Okay, underneath that is spell check, or right next to that is spell check. If you're anything like me, you started typing away and all of a sudden you notice you have some misspellings. If you click on that, it actually will run spell check for you. And that's a nice feature for the students as well, because it gives them the option of making sure when they create their own flip charts that everything's spelled correctly. So again, you just click on that and it'll run spell check. And then as you notice, the same 4 buttons will appear at the bottom as well. Okay, so all that is under languages under your profile. And the only other one I love is the media. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up your media toolbar. And now you're going to see, of course, everything's the same until you get underneath your page browser. Now you see the microphone. So if you want the students to record a story or having them read aloud, or if you actually want to record your lesson, you just click on sound recorder and you can hit record and it will record anything that you want it to record. I've never seen it run out of recording space, but do remember you want to keep them short and simple. If you're going to record your whole lesson, there's probably a better way to do that than this. So if you just want to record a few things, a few sounds for yourself, you can do that. There is no way to save it, so it's just going to be a temporary thing anyway. So if you want the kids to practice saying their names, if you have ELLs or English language learners, you want them to practice saying good morning to each other, this is one of the few things you can do to help encourage that they're speaking clearly. Okay, and then underneath, right next to that, we have our media toolbar. So if you click on that, it actually will allow you to put in any media inside of your flip chart. So it automatically will open up to wherever your flip charts are saved, and then you can navigate around there to insert any pictures, videos, or sounds that you've created on your own. Of course, you have to have it saved before you click there. Okay, and then my favorite tool of all, the camera tool. Now this, when we start going in and out of the software, when we start playing with annotation over desktop, you're going to want to keep the camera tool on your toolbars. Now I'm going to give you an example. We're going to go ahead and click on annotation over desktop, and I want to take a picture of this beautiful mountain here. So now you guys notice that when I click on annotation over desktop, everything's minimized out. You see your desktop. So now I can actually go through and I can go to a website I've already populated, something along those lines. But I'm just going to go ahead and practice taking a picture of the backdrop. So now I'm going to pull up the camera tool. I love area snapshots because I can't take a picture unless it's square on square. So right here you guys saw that it opened up this box for me, and I move that box wherever I want to, and then each of the corners you can open it as large as you want. So if you only want a specific spot of whatever picture, you can open that up as large or as small as you want. Once you're done, you can click on clipboard. It took the picture. And what you normally would hear is a camera click like you do on any other program. You won't hear it today, but you will hear the camera click. Now I have it on my clipboard. Now how do I get back? You have to click on desktop annotation to get back into your flip chart. Otherwise, if you don't click on that, you're kind of stuck. There's no way to get to the software any other way. So you must click on annotate over desktop to get back into the software. Because I saved it to a clipboard, I'm going to right click, and now I'm going to paste it in. And there's my beautiful picture. So that's one way to start getting more familiar with going in and out of the software. Again, don't do it unless you feel very comfortable, because I've had a lot of friends who will click here and want to close all this out and they get stuck. They don't know how to get back into the software to close it out for the night. So remember, if you click on desktop annotation, you must click on it again to get out of wherever you are back into the software. Now at this point, you can close the software and exit out for the night. Okay? So those are my favorite tools to go over. You also have other options. The authoring, I never really use that as a teacher. I'm going to show you again. So what they do is they included a couple media devices plus the text option. So it kind of mixes and blends what you guys have already seen.